je čast da pričam ispred ovakvog auditorijuma. Pošto sam vam pokazao da znam koliko toliko srpski, mislim da nisam baš već sa padežima, so I'll continue in English. Well, first, I will speak about something that I was involved 2 years ago. Actually, in my country, in Macedonia, the authorities decided that they will introduce the coding subject 3 years ago, and then after the first year, let's say there was a big movement among the teachers, especially among the teachers in the first grade, because the coding subject was introduced in the grade number 3, so they felt not prepared, and in that time somehow I got introduced. So I went to the, well, before I start, just let me say that after me, the professor Miles Berry will be speaking, and I think that he went through this experience 10 years ago, so I'm very keen to listen to him, and I do recommend all of you to stay for him as well. So I was going to those meetings, and I keep seeing these faces, different ones, sometimes the same ones, sometimes different ones, but it was something familiar in that room that I couldn't tell what is it. So it kept repeating, and I was saying, I have seen this something. I keep saying to myself, I have seen this something somewhere, but I don't know where. And then I remembered. The room was full with this kind of use. People looking at each other, not very happy, knowing that, are you familiar with that movie, by the way? Who have seen that movie? Please raise your hand. So the basic moral of that movie is that at the end you have to work together if you want to achieve something. And I think that's what happened in those rooms. People are staring at each other, trying to use their approach, trying to make things going their way, but they were not really happy. So actually my presentation would be more focused on teachers' perspective now, because I think that those are the ones that are most neglected, and I will actually discuss about the good, the bad, and the ugly way of learning how to code. So let me start with this picture. Can you imagine, or can you tell what you see here? Please just say something loud, yeah? Well, I see a person that is worried. I see a person that has something to say, but he's not consulted. So this is how does that look. And then when people are making you do something, and it's really all about results, then you tend to improvise and tend to make things look good on paper, but you're not really focused on the real objective, and that is transfer of the knowledge. And of course, I think that you've all been through this picture, you know. No thanks, we're too busy. You have something, you know something, but you're simply ignored. So when those things happen, these are the bad things. And then just imagine you still have to do something. And obviously, if you're a teacher, you feel that you don't have enough knowledge, you need some kind of training. And then you face this kind of situation. People coming, telling you this and this and this, you can use this, you can have this, you have to approach, this is the different kind of approach, now you have to use this, and you feel overwhelmed with information. At the same time, there's so many tools, but you don't have any real digital competency. So there's so many tools, but you don't know how to use them. Well, as a result, you become angry. That's a normal thing. But you reflect that anger to your students. And then, instead of giving some knowledge and presenting this programming, coding thing and something cool, something necessary, something really that students will really need in some time, you actually create opposite effect. Because you cannot teach something if you don't like it, if you don't enjoy it while doing it. So, these are the ugly things that can happen. So how do you go from here to the good part? How can you make a change? So I was going to different schools, both rural and urban, talking to different teachers with good background in ICT, with no background in ICT, teachers that really are keen to use new technologies, teachers that really just want to spend the last year of employment in a very calm and relaxed way and are not interested to introduce something new. I was also speaking with a lot of kids, and I kind of, together with some of the best teachers in Macedonia, we kind of invented this methodological approach. So first, let's put some games into the children's hands. So, by gameplays, learning, kids are really focusing on cooperation. So, let them help each other. If teacher does not have enough knowledge, some of the kids can help other kids in whatever task it is. So, try to find a proper game. And do not create competition at first, because first kids have to learn how to cooperate, and they're good in it. So emphasize on that. No technology. Try to find, in our case, we find a puzzle-based game. So we want kids to focus on principles, on how to create algorithmic thinking. By the way, it is totally different than procedural thinking. If you want to explain about coding, the biggest mistake you don't want to make is to explain coding is like making a recipe. Because the recipe is very strict. If you want to code, you have to be very creative. So you have to think more openly. So find a game that has more than one solution. Find a game that gives a possibility to think differently. And find a game that opens the door for discussion of which way is more efficient or more productive and so on. Do not use this recipe example, okay? Do not use procedural example. Do not use those kind of examples. Then, once the kids know the basic principles, once the kids know how to cooperate with each other. By the way, this is also a very good approach to introduce girls into coding, because girls tend to be cooperative. If you put project-based learning approach at the start, if you make them compete, girls will feel threatened, most of them, and they will simply step back. So this is a very good approach. So game-based learning first. Then, on the second cycle, do the individual training. So this time you can focus on technology. This time you can focus on technology. So this is the mastering time for the students. Now they know what they have to do. Now you can introduce something that is web-based or something that use some kind of internet tools. And kids are learning individually. They know what they have to achieve. Now they're using the different tools to achieve the same way. In the third cycle, in the third cycle, go back to the teamwork. This time, introduce some kind of projects. This time, introduce competitions. Teams already work in a cooperative way within the team. Now you want to inspire them to be better version of themselves. Now you want to inspire them to do better than the other teams. And then, if you have a superheroes in your class, introduce something that is outstanding, something that will make difference. So you'll say, well, it's easy to say, this looks good on using these nice pictures, but how do you make this real? How do you I'm sorry. How do you make this? How do you make this real? So this is our approach. First, we made this methodology that has 4 cycles. In each cycle, kids are learning the same thing, more or less. But first time, they are focusing on games, so cooperation, no technology. And the Scotty Go is a good example of that kind of game. It is a puzzle-based game, so it's a tactile game. You don't need anything, you don't need internet. Actually, you need a mobile phone. And you actually take a picture of your puzzle, and then the phone is saying, well, this is a good code. This is a 1-star code, 2-star code, 3-star code. So the teams can start to think, to help each other. Even the kids that are not interested, they'll first just look, then they'll pick some puzzles, then they'll actually suggest to pick different puzzles. And then when magic happens. In my case, I witnessed 10-year-old kids after 45 minutes downloading the right application and understanding very important concepts like every program has its beginning and end. The program can have different solutions. The longest code sometimes does not mean that it is the slowest code. Sometimes small code is not as good as a longer code, and so on and so on, just from playing. In that particular case, the teacher has no background knowledge of programming at all. So, in the second cycle, you need individual type of work using technology. Well, I'm sure that most of you are familiar with Scratch. It is a web-based programming environment that uses the block-based coding approach. Well, these blocks, that's actually the same as the one used in Scotty Go. So, what kids learn this time? Well, they learn how to make more programs in less time. They already know the principles, they already know the tools. Now they're focusing on some kind of technology. The third cycle is once again team-based cycle, but now we introduce some kind of projects. And we want to do something even more. We want to ask kids to create something that will actually change their world, the environment that they're working in. And microbit, I think that I've heard about microbit at least 20 times these days. So this is a tool developed by Microsoft and BBC that is using the same Scratch-based language, but you can actually create something physical. So kids now learn something that their codes, their program actually reflects to the world around them. And that is a very inspirational for them. And they can create miracles. They feel like becoming wizards. And they can learn different concepts, not only programming. This kind of tool can be introduced in different subjects as well. But the best thing about the microbit, in my opinion, is that you still use this Scratch type of programming language. But if you want, if you have a superheroes in your class, you can use Python. The same code, the same tool can be programmed in Python as well. So, if you have superheroes, you can ask them, okay, how about making this same outcome, this same project, but with this different type of language? And Python is commercial language. If you follow this path, you can start up with kids playing games, with a professional programmer, with a very little support from the teachers using this basic flipped classroom approach. And I think this is a good way to teach programming. Is this the only possible path? No. You can, if you do a little bit of inquiry-based learning yourself or some kind of web search, you can find that you can use different tools for different cycles. Some of them will be most appropriate for you. Some of them maybe you'll find some other tools that you can use as well. So these are the good things. So you introduce this game-based learning, flipped classroom, and cooperation and competition cycles. So do not stick just to cooperation, do not stick just to competition, because they both have good and bad things going on. Well, thank you for your time. If you have any questions,